Breaking Brown family? It's Yvette Carnell coming to you again. Like I told you all on Facebook, I'm going to do my best to make this short and sweet. I want to make this short and sweet. I don't want anybody to get confused. I'm going to clarify it. We're talking about surgical clarity as best as I can, so that I cannot be called a hater or I'm down on everybody or whatever, what have you. I get asked a lot about, well, what can we do? Yvette, what are the solutions? And the problem that I have is that the solutions aren't necessarily what you think the solutions are or what they should be. Okay? So the solution in terms of everything we've talked about isn't like, well, black people have money too. No, the data is showing that most of us don't. So even in this situation, you have to control the stuff that you can't control. You have to control your reaction to the stuff that you can't control. So what I want to talk about right now is honesty. We have to not only be honest with ourselves, but we have to force other people to be honest in terms of the story that they're telling and how they're interacting with us in terms of the black community. Well, what am I talking about? Not too long ago, 2015, at breakingbrown.com, I wrote a story about Issa Rae. You all know Issa Rae, Misadventures or whatever, of an awkward black girl, something like that. I saw about 2 of the episodes, whatever, funny, I get it, fine. But there was something that she said in 2015 that made me say, what's going on with Issa Rae? Now, let me give you some background on her. She has one parent who's a doctor. I think he's a pediatrician. Another parent is a teacher. Okay? So let's think about what that means in terms. Most black people don't have that. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having wealthy parents. But it's very interesting. Antonio Moore, on a video he did yesterday, or the day before, I can't remember, gave us SC, it was what LCSC, where he talked about lineage, class, struggle, and character in terms of how you assess people. Now I'm going to come back to that because it's very important, and I'm going to assess myself by that same standard. Now, let me just go back in terms of making a comparison. I want to go back to what Issa Rae said that bothered me in 2015, and then I'm going to bring it all the way back to today and tell you why I'm bothered and what you should do about it. Here's what she said. I love being black. That's not the problem. The problem is that I don't want to always talk about it. Because honestly, talking about being black is extremely tiring. She tired. I don't know how Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson do it. People who talk, think, and breathe race every single day. How? Aren't they exhausted? The pressure to contribute to these conversations now that we have a black president is even more infuriating. What do you think about what's going on in the world and how our black president is handling it? Ask a race baiter. It's all good, I guess. I want to answer with a Kanye shrug. I'm over it, but am I? Even now, I feel obligated to write about race. It's as though it's expected of me to acknowledge what we already know. The truth is, I slip in and out of my black consciousness as if I'm in a racial coma. Sometimes I'm so deep in my anger, my need to stir change, that I can't see anything out of the lens of race. And other times I feel guilty about my apathy. But then, isn't this what those who came before me fought for? No, they didn't fight for you to feel apathetic about anything. And then we. First of all, what year was that? This was in let me go to that. This was in 2000, January of 2015. It's in the Cosmopolitan. Now here's the
good
meat
black
of,
magazine.
Here's the meat of everything she says. I've decided to focus only on the positivity of being black, and especially of being a black woman, Rae wrote. Am I supposed to feel oppressed? Because I don't. Should I feel marginalized? Prefer to think of myself as belonging to an exclusive. Should I feel marginalized? I prefer to think of myself as belonging to an exclusive club. That's what she said. Right. She's tired of talking about this.
No, she's tired of talking about the struggle. She wants to talk about like the big hoopy earrings, the cool things about being black.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right. She wants to talk about that stuff.
She wants to talk about the black culture stuff. But she don't want to talk about the heavy stuff.
Yeah, not the
right?
stuff that's tied to poverty, just the stuff that's tied to like nice.
But here's the problem. You named your thing like the misadventures of an awkward black girl. You didn't call yourself the misadventures of a California girl or the misadventures of a and she called and
of
she
a doctor's kid.
Of a doctor's kid. And she called herself African on this thing, said misadventures of a African kid. Now you said you're banking on being black. Your whole project is on being black. You can't then come later and say, I don't want to talk about being black. And you see, when you talk about the African thing, you say, Yvette, what about Irony? Irony's half African. Irony ain't saying this. Irony's here with me.
Yeah.
He ain't over there talking about he tired of talking about the black stuff and the black people, and he's not saying that.
No, I'm saying we need to talk about it more.
Need to talk about it more. And here's
better.
Think about the context in which she said this. And I'm finna bring it full circle for you. But think about the context in which she said this. She said this during a period where black men were incarcerated like 9,000 out of 100,000. Those are collapse numbers. Those are collapse statistics. That's data of a community in collapse when black men are incarcerated at that level. When you're talking about the black family and all of that, those are collapse numbers. And during that period, she comes in and say, I'm kind of bothered that I keep having to talk about it. No.
It must be hard having to talk about it. It must be hard out there. Almost as hard as being in jail.
In a cage. I don't even call it jail no more. Black men have been put in a cage. Black women too, but not nearly to the extent of black men. It's a cage. It's not even jail. Like, they put you in a cage. That's what they put wild animals in. Right? So this is what we have. What I'm telling you is that when we talk about celebrities, one thing we got to let our celebrities know, you don't get to say stuff like this. You don't get to name your stuff Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl and get to say this kind of stuff. You just don't get to do it. You don't have our permission to do it. You shouldn't want to do it, but you don't get to do it. So when I bring it back in terms of what she said about that, I wanna bring it back to what she said about when you're talking about the Muslim ban. And there's a great tweet. There are some great tweets from Issa Rae about the Muslim ban and Donald Trump's, regardless of what you think about it, about Donald Trump. And she's not feeling that at all. So my thing is this. You don't have any problem about going in on your Twitter feed
right.
about what you feel about this immigration ban. Rightly or wrong, I'm not even talking about that just yet right now. Rightly or wrongly, you don't have any problem with that.
She's about that struggle.
You're about that struggle.
That is a fashionable struggle to be about.
And all the liberals are on that side.
Right.
You're not going against the wind on that side.
No.
But you're going against the wind when you start advocating for black people in a meaningful way.
In a meaningful way.
Drumbeat after drumbeat.
Right.
But you don't want to do that, Issa. That's a problem for me. It's a problem for me that you wrote that in 2015. But now you're going for broke in terms of immigration. That's a problem for me. And let me tell you something else. She said a lot of stuff. There's another tweet where she said basically like, well, she did a whole video on how we don't need a wall. And all of this stuff. What I'm telling you, I'm not even telling you, you know what I believe. I've said it before.
Well, black people in California have some ideas about that.
They have some, they're bothered. They're bothered. They not only have some ideas, they're bothered. And I've told you before my views. I wouldn't even be going at Issa Rae so hard, and I'm trying to have a teachable moment here. But I wouldn't even be having this conversation if she would have stayed in her lane. You don't get to do a video and make fun of people who are in favor of immigration reform. Unless you're going
to talk about the status of poor black people. Unless you're going to talk about the struggle as part of like your struggle. But that's not kind of.
But you know what she did?
That's not what she does.
You know what she did?
What?
She talked about how immigration is like playing chutes and ladders. And she said there's no such thing as she said there's no way to tell. She said that Trump's wanted to get rid of the bad immigrants and not the good immigrants. And she said there's no way to tell a bad immigrant from a good immigrant. Well, wait a minute. Don't we have criminal records? Like, criminality is a good indicator, or it can be a good indicator if used effectively.
I don't know.
If you committed murder, then maybe you don't stay.
Look. We just need black people to have jobs, and they're not
having. But the data is clear for me. Like, it depresses wages. But either way, I don't care what you believe. I don't need Issa Rae in this platform talking to me. And I've shared before. Listen, I have shared on this video. What have I shared? I have shared the displacement of black temp workers in Illinois, who were because they preferred illegal immigrants. And it's not just the immigrants' fault, because they don't have any rights. So when you come to this country and you don't have any rights, then you live in the shadows and you can't do what black people would do if they work. We can go to the Department of Labor and complain. We can go to the EEOC. You can't. You can't do that. So of course they want those people. And I shared, if you want to go look at it, a piece from AL.com, Alabama.com, where basically they were talking about, there's another temp agency. There's another temp agency which discriminates against black people on behalf of, illegal immigrants, because again, they can't take advantages of the rights that are afforded to citizens in this country. So it's more complicated than, there are no good and bad immigrants there. It's more complicated than that. Either way, Issa, you don't get to do that. If you don't want to talk about what is most consequential in the life of black people. And I'm not saying she hasn't done videos on racism, I get that. But what I'm telling you, this thing that says she was tired is from 2015. She was tired in 2015 and she don't seem tired no more. All of a sudden she got energy.
Yeah. I'm tired of talking about poor Negroes.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Guess what? We're still poor. And so if you're going to be part of a struggle, it'd be nice if you were part of that struggle,
Well, if you're not going to be part of that struggle, then be honest. If you're not going to be part of that struggle, what I need you to do, I can't tell you what nobody else needs, but I need you to be honest. We talked about Tracy Silverstein on this show once before. I'm not saying the woman isn't talented. I think Tracy Ellis Ross, but Tracy Silverstein is a name. She dropped her daddy's name because, he's a Jewish white man. She dropped his name and just calls herself Tracy Ellis Ross. Use her mama's name and her daddy's middle name. Now, I'm not saying she's not talented. I'm not saying none of that. But what I'm saying is that you don't tell the truth. These people don't tell the truth. Why don't you tell us that, when you first came out, not now, I understand that your daddy is on your stuff now. I understand he's on your Instagram now. But when you first came and did Girlfriends, we didn't know all of that. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you do some misadventures of the daughter of an R&B icon and a Jewish wealthy man? Do that show. Why don't you do, if people don't want to, be honest about who you are. Be honest about what you come from. Be honest about the advantages that you have that other people don't have. You have to be honest with me, and you have to be honest with black people. You have to be honest up front. Don't be honest with black people after it's already happened.
And it's a good thing if you're honest. It's a good thing. It's healthy for our politics, for our awareness of ourselves.
Yeah, because we know who you are. It don't mean you're the enemy of nobody. No. I'm not saying that.
And she's still black.
You're still black. Yeah. But we need to know who you are. We can't, you just want a Golden Globe. You just want a Golden Globe. Tracy Ellis Ross, whatever the child's name is. You can't be up there winning the Golden Globe and being like, and have all the little girls in the ghetto thinking I'm going to be like you. No, you have to be honest with those girls about, listen, these are the advantages that I had that you won't have.
And that none of the other girlfriends had, actually.
And that none of the other girlfriends had. You have to be honest about why you're in that space and somebody from the hood isn't in that space. And everybody got to be honest. I'm even honest. I'm even honest in terms of myself. I'm even honest when I look at the lineage and lineage. We got lineage, class, struggle, and we got in terms of that acronym. Okay, I'm even honest. Like, I had two parents. They were both working class parents, but they were two parents. A lot of people don't have two parents. My parents were factory workers. Some people got a parent that's locked up, that's in prison, and another parent who's on welfare. We're not the same. So even I'm going to tell you, I'm not exactly the same. And I don't get to speak for those people. I don't get to lead those people. What I can do is look at the data and give you a prism through which to look. But I don't get to speak on your behalf and tell you what you need. Now, you can tell me, Yvette, this is what we need, and I will give you a microphone and help you figure out whatever you got to figure out. But I don't get to do that for you, and neither do any of these people. You don't get to talk to people about what, and tell people that immigration is disgusting or whatever without talking about the statistics, without talking about what their life looks like. You don't get to do it.
Without talking about the fact that it does depress black wages and increases black unemployment, and is correlated with, although we don't know if it causes, but is correlated with black incarceration.
And correlation is not causation. Right. Correlation is not causation. But there is a correlation. There is a strong correlation.
Yes.
And that's problematic. You don't get to talk about it, though, if you don't know that. If you don't know that, if you never read that, if you haven't done your work, you don't get to do that. There are people who will make counter arguments to me, and that's fine. I accept all counter arguments and we can go back to back. But if you haven't done a counter argument and you just talking about chutes and ladders and putting up a video because you black, you don't get to do that. You know what she did? She talked about the Bridge Act and talked about how we all need to get to know immigrants in our neighborhood. As the black community is collapsing, we saw in Milwaukee, we talked about this a long time ago, a few videos ago, how the communities in Milwaukee, the black communities, not even Milwaukee, I think it's Wisconsin, I don't think it's just the city, or like Section 8.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin.
Or prisons.
It's Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, Section 8's in prison, that's it. Why aren't you talking about that? You got a tweet about that I can look at?
Yeah.
Give me a tweet about that. We have a community in collapse right now. You told me you're tired of talking about that because it exhausts you. And you don't understand how Al Sharpton does it, but you want to talk about this? You want to talk about how immigration is chutes and ladders? I'm just tired of people wearing masks. That's what I'm tired of. And it's bothering me that people come and wear these masks. They don't let you know who they are. Tell me all of who you are. And you don't get to, let me tell you what it's like. It's like if I were to come on right now, and I get money from mostly black people, some white people, yes, and I appreciate every dollar everybody gives. I'm not a racist in terms of money. Bring it in. But the majority of money that comes to me comes from black people. So that's like me getting money from black people, and then later on, when I get put on saying, I'm tired of talking about race. No, that's my whole project. That's what I do here. You can't get on as like the misadventures of an awkward black girl and then write an article for Cosmo talking about how you're exhausted. Like, you got to start holding these celebrities accountable. I would prefer we not even listen to them on serious issues. If you want to laugh at Issa Rae, then you can do that. But I would prefer we not even listen to them on serious issues. And I would prefer they tell us everything about themselves up front. Don't just give me this like, oh, I'm just like you. No, you're not. No, you're not. Nobody's all the same. Like I just explained to you, even I'm not just like you. She goes into, we should support, as black people, we should support the Bridge Act and all of that kind of stuff. So, what I'm looking at here, even if she goes into immigration built our cities. Okay, immigrants helped build our cities. Yes, Issa, that's true. But guess what else? Black people helped build this country for a long time before that, and you don't want to talk about it. You don't get to talk about that and not want to talk about black when being black got you to where you are. It was black people when you on YouTube who were looking at your YouTube videos and sending your YouTube links and telling people you gotta check this out. This girl's funny or whatever. That was black people. You should never have written that article about being tired of talking about. I don't care how cute it was supposed to be and what it was supposed to be in terms of that stuff travels. That stuff have meaning and it's important. It's very important. And it's bothersome to me that she would do that during that period. You can be rich and you can do all of that. You just don't get to speak for most black people aren't in that position. So you just don't get to speak for them. I don't even get to do that. So how are you going to do it? It just makes no sense to me. And I think to kind of break this down, I'm just trying to think of a way to break this down and end it. What you have to do, you have to be honest. And we have to force people to be honest. That's what we have to do. And that's what I'm calling for. I'm not calling for nobody to hate on Issa Rae or anything like that. But you have to be honest with us. And then if you're gonna come up on black people, you gotta support black people at all costs. You can't ever write nothing that says I'm tired of talking about this.
Yeah. Well, she wants to talk about the good things. She's tired of talking about the struggle. And when we're a community that's in struggle, like if you're not going to talk about the struggle, then like
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
So I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Share it, like it. If you're watching on YouTube, if tweeting is something that you're into, then tweet. Of course, you can always, like I said, always remember too that I've started putting up the data. Like the data from Wednesday's show is up now on breakingbrown.com. So I start putting the data up because people say, well, what's that link about? And I didn't get to see that, and I want to check that out. I want to check out that story. It's up. So keep that in mind, and you can also donate there. There's a link to donate there as well. So thank you all. I appreciate it.